have an exciting and very, very full panel, obviously. We are trying to get everybody on the stage. So next up is how to make money with XR. And we have Naomi Assaraf? Yes. Assaraf, founder and CMO of cloudHQ. She's a badass, just in case you're wondering. Lisa Peyton, immersive strategist from Intel. Sam Hubert, CEO of Admix. Louis McClam, CEO and founder of Viewz Marketing. See, it's like multiple pages of people. William Newell, CEO of Northsouth Studios, and Michael Rucker, Chief Operating Officer of OmniVirt. So let's welcome the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and thank you all for coming. Out of curiosity, how many people here are creators? Just raise your hands. Cool. And how many people here are brands looking for strategies? Okay, cool. So we're going to explore how to make money with XR, and we have an esteemed panel here, and I'd like for each of them to explain a little bit about what they do with their companies. So please go ahead.
So my name is Louis McClam. I'm with Viewz Marketing. I'm the CEO, and I basically am a serial entrepreneur. Been doing what we do for probably about 3 years inside the VR space, and been a technology consultant for almost 20 years. What Viewz Marketing does specifically is ad monetization for native XR placements. So we allow you to drag and drop your billboards right inside of the game or inside of an application, and then easily make money off of it. That's what we do. It's pretty simple. And then what we do for the advertisers, add a subliminal level of behavior analytics to it, so that we know what people looked at, how long they looked at it, and what they focused on, and then create personalized experiences for them.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Michael Rucker with OmniVirt. We're playing in a similar category as Viewz, but more on the demand side, on the brand side. So we call ourselves an immersive advertising platform. We distribute 360 VR, 3D photos, and augmented reality experiences, primarily right now across the web. We're very excited about the future of native headset glasses experiences, but for most brands, they need massive distribution, and so we take web inventory and enable publishers to turn that into experiences that can deliver immersive formats. Looking forward to talking to you more about that.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Billy Newell. I'm the CEO of Northsouth Studios. We're a software and content development company, and we have been dedicated to the AR space for the past few years. We have developed a AR publishing platform called Hoodoo. You can find more about it at gethoodoo.com. And we are also enabling toys and books and other formats to take advantage of our tech. So this year we'll be releasing a couple of toys. One of them is called Dinos Come Alive, and as you can imagine, it's dinosaurs coming up on your hands, and it's really cool because we're bringing new life into old toys, basically. So it's going to be an interesting year for us. And I'm looking forward to telling you everything about how you can actually make money in AR.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Peyton. I'm a content strategist at Intel, and I've studied immersive media and have a degree in media psychology. I'm super excited to be here on the brand side, representing the brand and technology. And I want to thank Sam for putting together some amazing content today. It's just been great, and I want to thank you, and I'm excited to be here in the first marketing and sales track at AWE, so yay. And thanks everybody out there that's here joining, and I have an additional question. Thanks for asking. A lot of creators, not a whole lot of marketers, but who's consumer side? Raise your hand if you're consumer marketing. Any B2B people? Anybody B2B? We got a couple. So I have been doing B2B marketing for now probably 10 years. I've been doing digital marketing for well over, I'm embarrassed to say, almost 20 years. So I've been in the business for a long time. And if you have really good B2B immersive content or case studies, please let me know afterwards. I'm always looking for that and hungry for that. And I have a few I can talk about today.
Thank you. Sam.
Hey everyone, my name is Sam Hubert, and I'm the founder of Admix. We are a monetization solution for XR. The company's been going for about 2 years. We recently raised $2.5 million, and the idea is to give tools for creators to be able to for them to be able to be successful. So we have a SDK that integrates with Unity, Unreal, with which the creator can identify areas of the content that they want to monetize. We sell that programmatically to thousands of brands. Currently, we work with about 200 applications, and we're really excited to. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you more about that.
Cool. Well, thank you all for your introductions and to explain a little bit about more where we're all coming from. I'm Naomi from cloudHQ, and my focus is actually email management. And I've been asked to moderate this panel because I understand how to do growth through ecosystems. When I came on as a late co-founder to cloudHQ, I grew it from 230,000 installs to this morning, which just reached over 4 million. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I want to understand a little bit more about how immersive media can play into it. So let's start off with a money question. Lisa, I'm putting you up first. So,
Fantastic. Love it. Let's dive in. Money
Okay.
question.
what are the key verticals where XR is helping marketing teams drive revenue today?
Well, if you've been here throughout all of today, retail. There have been so many amazing retail case uses today. If you are in the business of selling something online, you're probably or should be exploring 3D content for your experience. I mean, house, phenomenal results, right? So I think that that's an obvious one. Some that maybe aren't so obvious, and I'm gonna give a shout out to B&B today, B2B marketing today, because there hasn't been a whole lot of B2B examples, but I think that the way companies can tell stories through this new medium can really help move high-stakes audiences. So there's some great case studies out there for traditional companies like Chevron who are trying to influence policymakers. And you may say that how does that it's an indirect monetization platform, but I think looking at this in a kind of through the lens of how you're going to drive feelings and emotions with the new language that immersive is a kind of important place to start, and one that maybe is overlooked with everything that's so consumer focused right now. Wow, the lights are bright. I have never been so nervous on stage before, you guys, and I own rooms. This is crazy nerve-wracking, just letting you know.
Yeah!
I'm just being honest. Wow. So yeah, great. I'm just gonna, and I will say, I love to field questions from the audience because I don't know if what I'm talking about is valuable to anyone sitting out in that room. That's why I try to ask questions when I start. So I'm gonna try to keep my talking to a minimum and hope that you guys have some good questions where I can really help provide value to you guys. So that's my question of you.
We will get to audience questions for sure. But I want to also look at publishing because I think that might also be a good vertical. And so, Michael, I want to ask you, how are publishers monetizing like VR right now? Because it's kind of still the early days.
Yeah, I mean, one of our first customers actually was the New York Times. So if every folks remember a few years ago when they launched the New York Times VR app and had that whole partnership with Google, they had tons of brands come to them excited and interested in, oh, you guys launched this VR thing, we want to do VR, how do we do it? It seems like you've distributed cardboards with every New York Times subscriber. The biggest challenge for them was ultimately how many people downloaded that New York Times VR app, how many active users were in that New York Times VR app. And so they came to OmniVirt to distribute VR experiences across their website and web inventory, so that when they sell their homepage takeover or their mobile ads, instead of just going to those brands and selling a flat two-dimensional ad experience, they can take that Chevron example you just mentioned and target those influencers and influential people, those policy decision makers when they're on the New York Times with that 360 video content experience. So we've seen brands like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Gannett, ESPN, kind of not only leverage the audiences they have, which is one of the challenges that I've seen right now in the XR space for creators. They already have built-in audiences, and a lot of these publishers have also built studios. And I think that's what brands are looking for. Like, how do I build audience, and how do I create good content and good stories? And that's basically what a publisher does. So that's where we've seen publishers have a lot of success in taking what's become sort of commoditized ad inventory that Google just sends banner ads to, and actually have a differentiated offering that they can charge a premium for.
Yeah. So content is like the key here.
Content with their audience.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so, Lewis, how much do you think the average bid is for an XR advertisement?
So it's funny, I was just talking to Samuel about this, is that inside of the immersive environment, and we do AR, VR primarily, you'd be amazed. So the average bid that you get for CPM on Google is about $7 to $10. The average bid that you get inside immersive is around 18 to 20. So it's a massive increase that allows you to target those advertisers and give them a much better experience. And specifically for Viewz, what we do is add a layer of analytics that they can then know who looked at it, how long they looked at it, and what they focused on, because those are things that they right now pay for their market research, and we allow them to add that to that same advertising budget and get the same content. So it's very important for them to be able to build a platform that they can go back to and know who their audience is and how to attack them later.
Exactly. Yeah, that's key. Without analytics, I don't think marketers would know what kind of content to bring their audience. So that's key. Also, so Sam, so Sam is the founder of Admix, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about how would creators actually make money with XR, not publishers, but creators.
Yeah, so I think one thing that is really interesting with XR and specifically the solution that we're bringing to the market is, for the first time, the creators are actually in control of the advertising experience. I was a creator before. I was running my own mobile game studio, and something I was very frustrated about is when you're done with your creation and you need to monetize it, it's a separate process, right? You finish your app, you finish your game, and then you would slap some banners or pre-roll videos on top, and that always creates a bad experience that you can't control as a creator. And for the first time, what we're able to do is giving the creators the complete freedom and the options to decide how their advertising experience is actually going to work, by having a simple way for them to insert brands or insert sponsored content within the environment. So we're not talking about having banners on top of the content, but we're talking about having a billboard that would be part of a game now can be replaced by a real brand, or even better, a 3D product that is part of the scene, part of the experience, is actually sponsored by a brand. And so what it means is, instead of having to fight for the attention of the user when the user is consuming a game or reading an article, for example, right now on the web, the ads are fighting for the attention. They're not in line with the content. What we're trying to do is to really insert it in a way that when the user discovers this experience, they also discover the ads, they also discover the brand. So that means that the experience is not intrusive. Users actually don't hate advertising per se, they hate being intruded. They hate the intrusion. They hate being taken away from their experience.
Sorry,
and for the first time, we can change that.
That's the line to use. If you're tweeting, that's it right there. If you want to repeat that, because
Which one was it?
You were specifically saying how the users who are engaging with your games, with your experiences, they just don't want to be intruded upon. But
That's
they don't
right.
mind sponsorship if you do it in a way that's not in an intrusive way. And that's really
That's right. Think of it as out-of-home advertising. When you walk in the street, you have these banners. Yeah, maybe they're not the nicest banners, but they're not annoying. If you don't like them, you can just go on about your day and you don't look at them. They're not intruding. They're not stopping your experience. What's really annoying about mobile ads is that you have to click on that little arrow that is moving, and that doesn't actually allow you to close the ad. And we think that with XR, for the first time, we can actually move away from that type of advertising.
You can even make it like an Easter egg hunt, right? So you can plant that. Okay, so I want to also look a little bit more at, let me see, I've got, I want to actually follow up again. So when we're looking at creators and how they're making money with VR, I want to now look a little bit more about how can content creators actually make money with AR. And Billy, I want to address that to you.
With VR?
With AR, because you're more focused, I think, in AR. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So it all starts with a strategy, right? And
Couldn't agree more. Oh my God.
And whether you're on service or products, a strategy involves a lot of decision making, right? You have to analyze if the numbers are there, how is it going to impact your brand or your product, and what is it going to cost, and what does it mean for your team. But once all of those ingredients are in place, and I believe that this year they are in place, all of the big tech giants are investing heavily in AR. Apple, Google, Samsung, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, you name it, they're all putting money. The more interesting part that tells me that this is the right time is that brands are beginning to be successful while they're investing in AR. L'Oreal is a great story where they have made a brand that was well known, now is hyped to the max. Everybody knows about it. It's just basically how you can sample makeup before you buy it. So it's elevated brand presence, but it's also affected the bottom line. So they are actually making more money now. 19 Crimes, a wine company, is making more money because people now buy more of the bottles because they want to hear the stories that are associated with each bottle. It's a very simple concept.
Right.
And IKEA with their furniture, and I can go on and on. So we don't have to refer to Pokemon anymore as a success story. There are many success stories. So you can make money because the numbers are there. We are in our platform. We make it easy basically for content creators to focus on what they do best, content creation. So our platform is turnkey. It's really easy to use. You can have something in minutes running up. And you make money because we have a model that allows you to monetize the addressable market. And the key here is, if you're in advertisement or marketing, can you really afford to be left behind when the tipping point comes? And I think we are at the tipping point because there's over 1 billion devices that are AR enabled. So you really have a marketplace, and you don't really have to work for head-mounted displays or H2D applications, which they will come, but you already have an addressable market. So that's how you can make money.
That's a good point. And so Lisa, what are the best strategies for effectively using XR to help meet marketing objectives?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 things that I would call out as being important to remember. Strategy, purpose. So creating purposeful content and having a very specific purpose to what you're doing is the first essential ingredient. House, perfect example today, that case study. They set out to solve a customer problem, which was, hey, I bought this big sofa and it looks like shit in my living room, and now what am I going to do with it, right? And this is they solved for that in a really interesting way, and that is number one. Their goal, and the smartest thing I think that has been said today, is this: that they didn't add all of this amazing augmented technology into their platform to sell more stuff. They added it to solve customers' problems, and that has to be the first thing. And that she was so well spoken today, and I really appreciated her for saying that, because the questions were all about conversion and ROI, and it can't start with that. It can't. So having a purpose and being purposeful is my first thing, and purpose from an audience perspective, right? That's number one. Number two, make it social. So there's no more excuses to make these isolated experiences anymore. They have to be so social. And so many of the amazing case studies we heard today were social experiences. The beauty of this technology is that we can connect in new ways. And with 5G, the advent of 5G, there's no excuse. You're going to have thicker pipes. You're going to be able to have multiplayer experiences now for everyone, and that's really coming. And to that end, I was just in I have to give a shout out to the Cloud Compute Center over just down the street at Intel. They have a 5G lab set up where they have some amazing demos. You guys, I was privileged enough to be there yesterday, and it's amazing what can happen. And you're going to be able to have hundreds of people engaging with immersive content at one time. So bake social into your experience. It's important. It's a primary need that we all have. And the third thing, final thing, is use the right tool for the job. So we've got this whole tool belt of new and amazing tools that as marketers we can use. You've got AR, you've got high-end VR, you've got low-end VR, you've got 360 video, you've got mobile AR, you've got 2D immersive, just anything you can think of, but you've got to use the right tool for the job. And so to that end, you've got to understand the tools. You've got to get in and play with them and know them and understand the language that's being used within them, so that you can smartly leverage them to meet your objectives. So I think those are the 3 key points.
It's a
Call to be creative. That's the final thing I'll say. It's an amazing time to be a marketer, you guys, and it's a call for creativity. We have to have creative approaches to use this brand new language that we've been given. I challenge everyone in this room. To do that. Thank you. Thank you.
And so I want to also touch on the tools for a minute. So if I was a content creator, what would be my limitation? And I'm going to address this to Sam, since he kind of already has a leg up with this, with Admix.
Sure. So if you look at the previous computing platforms from the web or mobile, you can see that the cycle of innovation always happens in echelons. So you have the first layer of apps that inspire further infrastructure, and then this infrastructure supports the next level of apps. And so right now in VR and AR, we have a layer of infrastructure, which is the creation layer, Unity, Unreal, ARKit, that really democratize content creation for 3D. And then we have the first layer of apps that have been successful in VR, such as Beat Sabers, and AR, we have Pokemon Go, and a lot of others. But what's missing right now is the second layer, and that's a layer of tools that enabled the creators to actually capture value from their user base. So of course, we need more users. There's no denying that this is the main limiting factor. But on top of that, we also need the right tools. We also need the right monetization tools, acquisition, growth, all this ecosystem that is currently lacking for XR, and that will enable the creators to actually capture the value from their user base to reinvest that into building more content. And so that's precisely what Admix is trying to build.
Mm-hmm. And so to Lisa's point, right now, if you're extremely creative and can find a way to segue past that, then you'll be able to be like the starting point and really create some noteworthy information about whatever it is that you want to create. So if you're working for a brand and you do some sort of content creation and you're able to get around that, this is where your creativity will come into play. So thank you for answering that, Sam. Louis, I wanted to ask you, how do you believe millennials and future generations' attention spans will affect the future of XR monetization?
Well, I think the biggest thing you have to see is that attention spans as a whole, since basically 2012, we're below what a goldfish attention span is. And everybody knows a goldfish attention span is not long. So with us, what we did is we built it in a specific way so that we would know how long people are looking at things, because as the newer generations come in, the alpha generations, their attention spans is estimated to be 1 to 2 seconds. So if you only have 1 to 2 seconds to get a brand across or to try to actually make someone want to experience something, you need to be able to target that solution and create a profile so that when you have those multiple touches, which everyone knows in marketing that it takes multiple touches. It used to say it took around 3 to 4 touches, then it became 7. Now it's up to almost 15 touches because of the social platforms that are there. And what we do is we have it so that once that profile attaches to them, it keeps going along, and they keep allowing them to keep breadcrumbing, keep giving them those same feeds. And if they like cheeseburgers, you keep putting different type of cheeseburgers in front of them. You do what is necessary to be able to make the brand successful. Because at the end of the day, that layer 2 that we want to have, they need to basically have the tools necessary to have success. And the number 1 tool for success is to make money. They're going to have to make money to make more content, and we need content to get more devices, to get that whole layer to be working.
And so what behavioral trends are the most important for the future of XR ecosystems? I'm throwing it right back at you.
The most important behavioral trend is content consumption. We've seen that every single person in this room can think of probably 5 different ways that they can watch Game of Thrones, like with the Caesar family there. You knew everybody was gonna hit you on Twitter. You knew on Facebook you were gonna get content. You knew it was gonna be on the internet. You knew everywhere that you possibly could think of, the content was going to keep delivering to you. With that type of delivery, the social aspect that Lisa was referring to is the only way to be able to do that. So our platform allows you that when they see that information that they have some attention to and they want to interact with, then how do you get them to actually go to the website and actually move forward and actually add it to their social media? Go on Twitter and retweet it. You have to have some type of alert or some type of connection that takes them from that virtual world back to the physical world and connected back to the cachet of their whole community that they're part of the ecosystem of.
And so, Sam, I want to ask you, what is the most successful case study you've seen based on what Louis is saying, which is something that's like content that's actually really, really customized for the user? What was the biggest thing that kind of blew it out of the water for you?
I mean, there are a few. So, of course, we are going where the audience currently is. So right now, in terms of headset VR, and it's mostly on mobile. So we work with a lot of mobile VR companies who, until now, were really struggling to monetize their audience. This is content that is not super premium, so people are not willing to pay up front for it. And it's an interesting trend, actually. If you look at what happened on mobile in the early days, 80% of the apps were paid for, and now it's about 5%. So we're seeing the same thing again in VR, where content is becoming commoditized, and therefore the creators are forced to look for alternative business models, such as advertising or virtual goods or in-app purchase. So for us, we've actually jumped on that trend, and we are working with a lot of mobile VR applications that are basically the first app that most people consume when they have one of these, Google Daydream or Gear VR. They put their phone in and they consume these really short app, 1 to 2 minute apps, which until now couldn't make any money. And some of our creators today are making up to, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a month purely through advertising.
That's pretty cool. And I think
these are small studios, by the way, not big companies, of course.
No, it's really
so it's
just
2 or 3 people,
to
and
see, like, something specific. And actually, maybe Michael, maybe you would also like to kind of pipe in here, because I think that so OmniVirt, I know you've got Progressive, you've got Universal Pictures, you've got some like pretty big case studies. So what advice do you have, or what have you seen that's just kind of jumped out? Like, I want something really
For the
specific.
brands or for people trying to work with brands?
I want to know for the brands.
For the brands themselves, yeah. I mean, the way that we've really focused on, at the end of the day, the marketing manager, the brand manager, the media planner, the people that are operating, there's a couple things. One, you need to fit into how they operate, and you need to make their life easy. I think the biggest challenge in learning that I've had in trying to build like an ad platform over the past 2.5, 3 years is trying to get someone to do a new workflow or build brand new assets with no scale is a recipe for disaster, or recipe for like a one-off innovation, small budget. What you want to tap into is the $1 billion progressive media budget. And how do you basically get them to do more out of that? And so the way that we've had success in working with them is, one, fitting into their existing operation and how they measure their campaigns today. So do you buy banner ads? Yes. How do you measure your banner ad performance on the web?
I see, okay.
Great. What if we were to serve a 3-dimensional experience into that exact same placement? Would you be able to see the uplift in performance? And so we can speak their language and work in a way where we can take the existing assets they have, leverage new immersive technologies, and get them the performance that they can then justify to their boss it's worth investing more in that. So that's kind of my recommendation to someone starting a company or trying to work in the space as a brand is, you can try and build something from scratch and do like a skunk work project. I really think the best way of working is to test in the way that you currently test, work in the way you currently work, and leverage these new technologies. I think the best examples are not the standalone IKEA app. It's a good case study that everyone talks about. I think the best examples are the folks that have built an audience in their mobile app and now with iOS or Android can leverage that existing audience. So what I think you want to avoid is the standalone project, and how do you leverage new technology in your existing workflow, in your existing campaigns.
Well, what did Clorox do specifically?
Yeah, so Clorox, they had a new scent for Febreze. So I don't know if folks have cats, Fresh Step. But anyway, they were launching a new fragrance called Hawaiian Breeze. And really they wanted to basically show you that when you use this product, you'll feel like you're in this beautiful beach house, Hawaiian beach house. You're not even going to be able to smell your cats. And so they leveraged interactive 360 experience for their campaign. They were already buying media. Instead of serving flat 2-dimensional experiences, they served an interactive 360 experience every place that they would have been buying a traditional 2D video or traditional flat banner ad. And instead of people, to your point, swiping through, because when was the last time I clicked on a banner ad, we had a 25 times uplift on the click-through rate on this 360 interactive ad versus their standard ads. And to your point around the goldfish attention span, well, they're spending on average 45 seconds now in this 360 game clicking and looking for their cats. And it was like a find your cat adventure game, right? So that's an example of how we would work with a brand and leveraging these new technologies.
Cool, I like that. And I want to ask Billy, how hard is it then to execute an AR campaign?
Well, it is amazingly easy to do so. For example, I'll speak about what we're doing with AR. It is hard to come up with a creative, with the right creative and what applies to your brand. But the actual mechanics of publishing are really easy. And how is it easy? For example, we have a platform that offers a wide range of options. Why a wide range of options? AR is a new medium, and with a new medium comes new challenges. We have to figure out new ad forms and a lot of things. So you have to be flexible. There is not a one-shoe-fits-all. So what we did is we have basically self-publishing universal app, so you can experiment and try different things. We have customized apps, we have white label, we have an SDK, so that if you have an app that you have spent tons of money marketing, and we all know how hard it is to get an app out there, you can add AR to that app. You don't have to create a new app. Still, the trick is how do you come up with a good, strong creative that applies to your brand, the service, and what you want to do. Now, there are some key things that I'm going to piggyback on some of the things that everybody has mentioned that you really have to take into consideration. One is that you want flexibility. So you can use ARKit or ARCore for some things. For some others, you need a platform because you need to leverage the cloud. You need to leverage big data. You need to leverage other services. And that's what really can give power to augmented reality. But that's not the only case, right? So the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that you want to leverage the skills that you have. So content creators have been doing amazing things for a number of years. So you want them to continue to do that. So you don't want them to have to learn a new authoring system or some restrictive way of publishing. You want them to use the tools that they know, focus on the message, focus on the brand, focus on what they do best, and we take care of the AR part. So we enable you so that you can launch easily. And the last thing, being a new medium, you want to be flexible with your business model. So that's why we created a wide range of options that address small companies, big companies, and in our case, you pay for what you use. So if you have a campaign that doesn't do really well, you're not going to lose the bank on it.
That's great.
So that's pretty much it.
I'm curious, what's the most successful campaign that you've seen with one of your clients?
The most successful campaign actually came with a museum, the Museum of Santa Cruz of Art and History.
Cool.
They had an exhibit and they didn't have enough room to have captions and quotes for the paintings and photographs that were in the museum. And the solution was actually surprisingly low key. All we had to do is when you point at an image, a text will come up and tell you what you were looking at or what was it about. And it is a super low use of AR in reality. But it was super effective, people loved it, enjoyed it, and we put it all together in 2 weeks, including shooting the entire gallery.
Are you able to tell us how much that cost?
It costs
That's
low
okay.
5 digits.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And it's nice to see different touch points, like visual, like reading, because that actually, enables a different part of our brains. So it's like you're playing into like a neurodiverse kind of a
Yes.
crowd. So I like the way how you're using that. Lisa, I want to find out what has been the most impactful example that Intel has for immersive strategy.
You're asking me an impact. I don't, impactful, that's a great question. There are a few. The Burning Man Smithsonian exhibit, I think, was very impactful. I got a chance to experience that myself at my friend Donna Davis's reality lab in Oregon, where she was using that as a demo for her students. So our consumer side of the business, in partnership with the Smithsonian, created a virtual Burning Man exhibit in Sansar, which is the 3D social platform. you know, I've been in virtual worlds for a long time. I was an early adopter of SL, and I've been doing this for a long time. When I got in and put the headset on and went into the Burning Man exhibit, and another person came, very tall person, and stood right next to me, it was like I was speechless. It was actually amazing.
Was that the man?
The presence. It was someone that was real, and they were trying to talk to me, and I literally couldn't find my words to speak back to them because it was just it was an amazing kind of moment that was like, wow, this shit's real, and he's right there, and I don't know what to say right now. But that was impactful. I liked that one. I'm going to give another B2B example that I found to be very impactful, and I'm kind of a B2B nerd though, so maybe not everyone would, but as I mentioned yesterday when I was at the Edge Compute Center, they had a really interesting AR experience, AR demo that I thought was very impactful. That they have now, as I said, a 5G network set up so they can run all these great demos on this new 5G network. And they had an iPad where you could see the data moving from the data. You guys can hear me without the microphone. I'm a loudmouth, from the server through to the antenna, and it was really fascinating. So they had they kind of were showing the actual data flowing through the air. So making the invisible visible with this very cool AR demo. That was very business focused. The center is for a high stakes audience. We're looking for people that want to partner with us and build really cool stuff with 5G. And a few people get to come in there, but we built that so that they could see something that normally you would never be able to see, but that's actually there, right? And the data is moving over our heads, and this is how it's moving, this is why it's doing this. And so taking something that's technical and before not visible to the human eye, making it visible. I found that to be very impactful. So there's two examples, I guess.
That's huge. You touched on 5G, so I'm gonna follow up on that.
Woo!
So we know how big of an impact 5G will make because everything will be, so much more clearer and faster. But we all want to know, when do you think it'll be more available?
Oh my God, I'm not a good person to ask that question. I mean, it is available. It is available to consumers in some select cities, right? There's a 5G network here that I can get on. So, but more broadly available, I don't know. That's a great question, and I wish I had a magic ball to give you the answer.
Right.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while.
What does everyone else think?
What's the prediction?
I think it's going to be quicker than you think, though. To be honest, we've got some interesting plans where we're demoing some things, and I think that I think there's going to be a demand for it, and that's going to force it to come faster than people probably think.
Right. So what are the predictions? Like, give me a timeline. Timeline, write down. We've got
For 5G?
Oh.
Yeah, for 5G. When's it going to be out? We all want it. It'll all
Well,
make ad platforms better.
For 5G everywhere, or 5G in dedicated cities? Because if 5G in dedicated cities, your major metropolitan cities are probably going to have it. Probably within the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to have some form of it to just have
Lisa's
it
like,
actually
nah,
there.
next year.
2020.
Is the intel in you?
Yeah,
I think we're getting some insider information. Kidding. Okay, so you think 2 to 3 years?
2 to 3 years, you'll probably have it in most metropolitan, the larger cities, probably your top 25. The other ones, they get portions and piecemeals as the telecom companies keep up. But the problem is, there's a lot of bureaucracy on that level. So
Yeah.
it takes more time than it should take to get out there. The equipment's ready, the consumer wants it, but to get all that network out there, and it does require a lot more setup, and it doesn't travel very far into buildings. So they have to put up additional antennas, and it's going to be a little bit more infrastructure than the telecoms want to put in right away.
Right. And Michael, so you deal with, I think, relatively large brands. And so because of that, what do you think you could offer them differently if you had 5G readily available?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for most of these sort of more rich, more immersive experiences comes down to like fidelity and load time, right? So what we've seen with most of our campaigns is, at least with 360 video stuff, if you're not on Wi-Fi, if you're on 4G, 3G in the subway, the adaptive streaming, is that actually a good quality experience for the brand?
No.
Or would they be better off not serving that ad?
Right.
Same thing with augmented reality experiences. We did a campaign with Sally Hansen that was sort of a virtual nail try-on campaign. We heard about before trying on shoes. Well, if you're Sally Hansen trying to get someone to buy your nail, what color looks best for you, right? Launch that experience right in Web AR, right from that ad. okay, how long is it going to take for the hand tracking? There's a lot of that sort of work that will be, brands care a lot about how their brands are presented. So I think 5G is 100% going to have a huge impact on that, partially because of the fidelity, but also because of the ubiquity and availability of the sort of more immersive supply side of the inventory, right? If everyone has headsets and now they're playing VR games, there's more inventory. Brands are going to want to buy into that in a more meaningful way.
Right. Cool, thank you. All right, does anybody else want to add anything else about how they foresee immersive experiences changing and how you can make money with it before I close it out to the audience for questions?
I have one suggestion.
Yeah.
Just 'cause it seemed like there was a mix of folks that are creators and some folks that are maybe brands. Are folks like entrepreneurs or building XR companies? Show of hands. Anyone building an XR company? Okay. I think my feedback, just from my experience in how to make money, is to be flexible in how you're trying to make money and what you're building. When we first started, we were very focused on being like a 360 VR advertising platform. And what I noticed, at least, was that the content creation around 360 video began to plateau, and that services was definitely a need in the industry.
Yeah.
And so, no, I'm going to be a platform. Like I have to be, well, if the customer doesn't want to buy a platform, or they want to buy your platform with services on top, and they're willing to pay you for those services, before that broader market is available, offer those services and make money while you're building your platform. So that's just some learning on how to make money in XR, is like you can build your platform and have that vision for that long-term business, but you can also provide other services that allow you to monetize along the way.
And that's why it's so important to focus on the addressable market, because there's a lot of things that you can produce and sell right now and reach numbers, create a footprint and market share, and then other things will come. When 5G is here, the kinds of things we're going to be able to do are amazing. So while I think a little more like Louis that it's going to be a few years, I certainly hope that you're right and it's a year.
Right. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much to our entire panel. Really appreciate your time. Does the audience have any questions for anybody in particular?
No. With 5G, there's coming up issues about safety.
Oh, yeah.
Have any of you found a problem commercializing in that area with safety issues?
Great question. Does anybody here want to take it? Because I could see you, Lisa.
I'm familiar with the safety issue. There's a big group where I'm from in Portland that's rallying against it.
What is the safety issue? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the safety issue around 5G. Is it like waves?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Proximity.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're all dead anyway.
So I'm familiar with it. If you're asking if I've seen any kind of how it's hindering kind of it rolling out, I have not experienced any. I haven't seen it as being an obstacle more than kind of public opinion. Social media, that's where they're kind of making their voice heard. One suspicion that I had, but probably shouldn't. It's this, and this has nothing to do with Intel. It's the cities. I think it's interesting that Portland wasn't one of the cities chosen for 5G kind of, and I wondered when I saw the cities that were chosen. I always think Portland should be chosen for everything, but if because we do have such an active community of folks that think that there's a health threat, if that might have deterred Portland from being one of the pilot cities, right? That's potentially possible, and it was something that I asked myself. And it's probably something that somebody in some room is talking about, but I don't have any proof that that's true.
But it's really a complex question, because when you think about it, we don't even know what the effect of mobile phones is on us yet. There's not enough data to really conclusively know if it's a problem or not, and technology is marching so fast. But perhaps if 5G comes around, and assuming that it's not frying us from the distance, it'll probably allow us to use other devices, so we won't have to have the phone, right next to us all the time. So maybe we'll avoid problems that way. Or maybe not. I don't know.
All right.
Sad
Well,
note
thank
to
you
end
so
on.
much.
Wah, wah.
I really appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
Exactly.